Hello, welcome everyone to Klawd Talks. This is Imad Mastoor. Today we have with us Younes El Moujahid, who is the founder of EvalFlow, which is an AI native performance management platform. Younes has 2 decades of experience in customer service management, and today we'll be talking about his journey in building SaaS. So, Younes, welcome to Klawd Talks. Thank you so much for joining again.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's just start with you spent almost 20 years in customer service management before starting EvilFlow. What were you seeing in those roles that made you think there has to be a better way to do performance management?
I led different teams in different departments, different roles, like between sales, customer service, sometimes like dispatch, installation, things like that. And the reoccurring thing, so the organization that I worked for almost 15 years was very kind of not harsh, but it was like very, on point on basically having documentation about coachings and feedbacks. They believed very strongly in the fact that if you coach your people continuously, you get the best results. And if you provide that coaching and on top of it, if you document it, so that means you can go back to your previous coaching documentation. And that's basically where my training came from. And that's where the pain point that I saw also during that process, which was basically the fact that we relied on very, manual stuff like writing papers and printing, coaching forms. And I wasn't good with it. It's like, to be honest with you, I was really bad at documenting stuff. I hated working with paper because, obviously with technology and everything, I would have loved to have something on computer, but we didn't. So we would create forms in Words and spreadsheets or SharePoints and print them and go into the coaching and meet with our people. Yeah. So that's how it started. And from there, throughout the years, I said it must be a better way, right? It must be a better way. So fast forward, now with technology, and I'm not a coder by training. I'm not a coder at all. I don't consider myself a coder, but I do consider myself a vibe coder. So fast forward, when COVID hit, I had my team working remotely. So I was managing about 20, direct reports. And it was very hard for me to kind of like, I didn't have that space. We wouldn't have rooms to go in and talk and everything. Everything was remote. So I kind of took a Figma page and I wrote down what would be the best, system. How would it look and how would it work? Okay, simple, not the bloated ones, because I believe what's on the market right now wasn't designed by managers, wasn't designed by someone that lived through the pain. It was mostly designed to, serve markets and go get the customer, but not really by a manager. So I kind of put that together. And then fast forward today, I was able to kind of execute it.
Great. So let's just zoom out for a second. How does the performance management space looks like right now? When you survey the landscape, what do you see?
So there's some right now it's kind of a weird uh market, to be honest with you. Because when I initially wanted a tool in 2020 when my team was remote, I didn't set out to create one. I reached out to the established organizations. And what I found out was very expensive solutions, minimal expense would require you to spend at least $4,000 a year with them, US dollars. And it was very expensive per user. When I looked at back then in 2020, the platforms were a bit open. So you could sign up for a free trial, look at it, but it would still require you to, you know, get a budget approval by the finance team. And my team was small, right? So 20 people that wouldn't, sign up for $4,000 just to be able so I can capture my continuous feedback so that my team can monitor their growth and where they've been and improve on it. So that didn't make any sense for me. So most of the solutions that are out there right now are kind of bloated with solutions. There's a lot of paywalls. So when I say paywalls is you and me understand that code is code, right? And software is software. But there's some tactics in sales that, they separate, certain screens. And they say, well, if you want to have access to this, you got to pay a little extra. If you want to access, and I didn't like that. So I was like, for small teams, small and medium businesses don't have the budget and all that. So that's how it started for me. That's why I said, you know what, I'll build my own.
Interesting. So, what is the scale currently we are operating at right now? Is it this a small team right now, or you are targeting SMPs right now? What is the scale?
So my main target is small and medium businesses. So you can go from 10 employees to maybe 1,000 employees, you know. I mean, you could go higher. The platform can scale up to 10,000, but I'm not targeting that market. I'm targeting mostly small and medium businesses because these are the businesses, this is 90% of the businesses in North America and across the world, I believe. And these are the businesses that don't have the tools and don't necessarily need to spend so much money and to create a high performing teams. So that's the market.
Is Workday also acting in that same category? Because I've used Workday HR service in our organization too, which is a large scale organization for Accenture strategy. And we have all that, feedback loops, priorities for employees. So
Mhm.
does Workday plays in SMB category or is it solely large scale?
So I mean, my belief is that Workday is an enterprise solution. It's a much larger solution, whereas you know it's an HRIS. It has payroll in it integrated. There's so many modules, plus they have partners. So think of Workday as like the Salesforce, of this work. So Salesforce is a CRM, but they also have partners and integrators working with companies. And the funny thing is, we developed an integration with Workday right now, where basically some organizations that approached us do use Workday, but they loved, EvalFlow's performance management module. They believe that EvalFlow is actually strong. So they said, we'd love to keep Workday, but we don't want to have two systems. We want something that integrates. So the question was, so most of the integration that exists in the performance management right now is that you Workday is your center of truth. So let's say you add a user or you add an employee or a department, that information flows from Workday to the other tools. So if you hire someone or if you terminate someone, that will flow to EvalFlow as well. So we do have an integration Workday. We're in the final processes with them to get it on board. But Workday is more of an enterprise solution that, maybe target larger businesses with more complex setup.
What is your distribution strategy at the moment? How are you getting in front of customers right now?
So I mean, I'm all new to this. It was a bit of rock and roll for the past 2, 3 years. But right now it's a mix of things. You have to kind of work on so many different levels. So it's a lot of content marketing. That was got me started, got me my first customers. Was basically content, blogs, and improving your SEO, improving your website, and getting out there. And I wouldn't say lucky. I think it was a good move to really put all my chips in AI because now AI is referenced in EvalFlow. If you say, what's a great tool for small and medium business? What's a great performance management tool for small and medium business? Chances are it's going to reference EvalFlow because, since late 2022, that's what I've been doing, articles and doing things like that. So it's content, it's LinkedIn. Most of customers is inbound. I stopped putting any ads, to be honest with you. It's just for me, there's no return on investment there. So it's content, and getting the traffic to your website, getting the lead, and getting in front of your customers. Some of it is outreach, but I'm not seeing the results. Maybe I'm not good at it yet. But outreach hasn't been that fruitful for me.
Right. You talked about integrations with Workday, with Slack. I think EvilFlow also has an integration with MS Team. I just recently saw your
Yes.
website too.
Yes.
How important are integrations in the performance management space?
They're important. So for Evolflow, important. It was a standalone solution, but talking to a few leads and a few existing customers, they wanted communication. They wanted things to be really seen, and knowing that not everybody kind of goes in work and logs into different platform, but they have one platform that they have to log in, which is either Slack or Microsoft Teams. That's where the communication happens. So it was very important that whenever a manager posted a feedback, recognition, updated an objective or a goal, that notification gets sent to one or the other, whatever the customer uses. And so that's why it was important. It was mostly communication, posting notifications, and we've allowed in integration to select which notifications you want the user to get.
Right. One more doubt regarding the AI and tech space. Everyone, I think, is adding AI to their product and calling it AI powered. That's the conception that I have. So, in the performance management architecture specifically, what does it actually mean to be AI native?
So this is really an important question because the established solutions on the market right now, kind of plugged in because AI is the buzzword, right? Everybody's got to have AI, otherwise, you're not trendy. So when I see how they plug in their solutions, it's like a top off ad where as a manager, the reality of a manager, reality of HR is that you need information, you need factual information. And sometimes gathering different documents. What did we talk about last year? How is this employee growing? Are we supporting them? All this information lives within the system. So the way that I've developed EvolveFlow is that whatever you do, whether you create feedbacks, you create objectives, performance reviews, you can search within the platform for that information, but you can also ask the questions. And the AI in EvalFlow plugs into all these modules seamlessly. You don't have to pay for anything extra. And even the AI is unlimited. I kind of find it funny that some solutions are still charging for AI because it's gotten so cheap. The tokens have gotten so cheap. And obviously an HR team or a manager is not going to be using AI all day, right? It's going to be certain moments where they just need the information. So it's a huge time saver. That's how I plugged it. Obviously, there's a little AI where it helps you kind of write a feedback, structure it. So I say, hey, I made John Doe and he didn't do a good job last week. Nah. It's going to help you structure that sentence better. There's that AI, which is what we call the wrapper. But there's also there's three things. There's this one and there's the silent one, which is to get you the information. So you could say, I'm preparing a performance review. These are the questions. And in the performance review, what are the things that John Doe worked last week? You know, what are the things that John Doe works throughout the year, 2025? I need a summary. When was he hired? Instead of going to different screens, you can have a conversational, AI conversation to get that information. And the third module is that the third thing that we plugged into EvalFlow is to proactive actions. So AI scans the data on a daily basis for a company. And it's very role based. So if you're an employee, it's going to scan your information. Then when you log in, it's going to say, hey, you've got this project that you need to update because there's a due date. You're off track on this goal. So you need to post something. So that's how we did AI. And it's all part of the module. It's all part of the pricing.
Yeah. Since you are coming from a customer service background and a non-tech experience also,
Mhm.
how hard do you think it is for non-tech founders to develop SaaS and to scale it?
So I don't come from a technical background, but I do have a technical background at the same time. So I'm not a coder, I'm not a programmer, but I did study early on that a long time ago. I studied 3D animation, and it was one of the most difficult things. And I'm a kind of computer geek. I used to assemble. So at school, I used to assemble computers and put them together with powerful graphic cards with the help of my brother. He would supply the parts, I would put them together, and I would sell them to my friends and students at school so I can pay the tuition fees. So and I'm a gamer, so I love interfaces and I know when a game is good and not. So I worked a lot in 3D, which is it was a bit complex. I also kind of did a bit of e-commerce, uh, 10 years ago. I did a bit of e-commerce. So Shopify was very early on. It was 2012. It was really new. So kind of it helped me kind of get to the technical execution. But for someone non-technical, I think you just need to be a problem solver. You need to look at a problem and, figure out how to solve it. All the information is out there. I mean, with AI, not only the information out there, but you've got the help that you need. But all the information is out there. You've got YouTube, you've got tutorials. You can search anything and solve that problem. And what I've been doing since I've kind of went from a no-code solution in mid 2025 to a full stack solution was to learn. I've learned through the mistakes. You connect database with, you learn about security, you learn about role-based access and, role level security and all these things. And it's, you know, nobody starts perfect. I mean, even professional coders will face, difficulties and will face bugs and things like that. Sometimes it's a small problem that appears and you fix it quickly, and sometimes it's a big one, and that's how you learn, right? So my suggestion to non-technical founders is, I mean, all the information is there. If they're willing, you need to be consistent. You need to be willing, and sometimes you need to stare in the emptiness. Sometimes you're working on something, it's not moving, but you got to continue. It's the compounding effect of learning and execution. There's no other way to phrase it. Like certain weeks, I get a lot of leads and a lot of conversation, and I feel like it's moving. But this month, for example, February is pretty dead. It's budget season, it's performance review season. So anybody that got a platform already have it. So you won't be getting much leads. So you gotta use that time to continue developing and believing in your product.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. I think let's talk about entrepreneurship. We have entered that segment. What's one thing you know about building a SaaS company that you wish you knew when you started EvalFlow?
What's one thing that I wish? I mean, there's one thing that I would say to this day, I'm not still an expert. So you can learn and you can do so many things by yourself, especially today. You can execute on so many fronts. I mean, there's even a race. I'm pretty sure you've seen this. There's a race to see the $1 billion SaaS, one person,
Yeah.
you know, because you can do everything with AI. I mean, I've even last week I downloaded Klawd. It's not on my computer because I want to train Claude how to do my taxes. So automatically navigate the screen and all this. But the one thing that I wish I learned was marketing. Marketing is very important. Your go-to-market strategy. You need to learn these things. You need to, because most founders start with the problem, right? And just like they've identified the problem, they believe in the solution that in the idea that they have as a solution. And even if they build it successfully, they're like, you can't build it and wait until they come. That's not gonna happen. So one thing that I wish I learned and I'm still learning is that you need to learn your go-to-market strategy and marketing. That's a very important aspect of getting the product. Because there's a famous saying that sales cure everything. So even if it's a shitty product, we have sales is so good, right? Uh, so yeah, that's the one thing I wish I learned.
Right now, is there a system that you follow regarding the go-to-market strategy? I think there are a lot of elements in GTM strategy. There's ICP, there is positioning, messaging, what kind of motions you're going to take. So, do you take all of that into consideration? Do you have a business advisory team?
It's a learning process. So I've only recently, and I'm going to be very honest with you, I've only recently in the past few months that my ICP has been really kind of narrowed down, and narrowed down for the goals that I want to achieve right now, because your ICP is going to change. So your ideal customer is going to change over time, how the product is behaving, how much exposure you have on the market, and so different things. But right now, my ICP just being fine-tuned for now. So that's what I've been doing. And my messaging also have changed. Before I would try to sell you the products. But if you're selling the product, that's not going to work. You have to sell a solution. You have to tell them what's the outcome for them, And most prospects come with a pain. Even the customer can't phrase their pain. They will come in on the meeting and say, we're looking to, have a performance review solution because we don't have platform right now. It's kind of on paper or we're using SharePoint, things like that. But behind this is the thing. So your job is to understand why do they need really a performance management platform? I mean, they could do it the spreadsheets. So you need to understand the pain and also build a return for an investment kind of approach with them. So you have to tell them that, this is what the outcome is going to happen for you. So it's only recently that I've kind of fine-tuned my ICP. I'm testing different approaches, different platforms. But I think an entrepreneur, someone in the SaaS business, need to really not use too many tools. They need to focus on two to three tools. And once they get that rolling, then they learn, and then they can expand. My mistake early on was I got a product, it's working. Let's do Google Ads, let's do Facebook, let's do retargeting, all these things. All these things are a waste of time and money. Yeah.
Right, interesting. For founders listening who are in the early stages, maybe they have an idea or just launched. What's your advice on knowing when you have a product market fit?
So I'll share a funny story. So when I started in 2023, I built it using a no-code solution. I don't know if you heard about Dalo. There's a bunch of them. There's Bubble, things like that.
Yeah.
But Adalo is like a bubble thing, it's just much easier. And so I built it using Adalo, and I've got, a few months later, I got my first customer. And when I showed it to them and they used it, they loved it. And from my first customer, I got my second customer. It was all referrals. Sometimes it's just referrals. That's what you need. And I got too excited, I guess, and started reaching out to investors, right? So it's like, hey, would you invest in this idea? Because it's solving actually a problem. And one investor told me one thing, I don't think he was right, but an investor is not always right. That's something that you have to know too, because otherwise you'll think that, they're not some sort of gods. They're just people that got there before you, right? One investor says, well, you build something that solves your problem. But if your problems, if 100 or 1,000 or a million people have the same problem as you, and that's the product. So I would say to the founders that they need to make sure that they're not the only ones that have that problem, that other people are experiencing the same thing. And do not, naysayers around you are going to say, well, that product already exists. There's not a single product or solution that doesn't exist already. You're not bringing anything new unless you're inventing something completely new, like AI or, and even AI now, there's so many competitors. So, but what is the value that you're bringing? So let's say your solution, you believe your solution is different and it solves the problem. And it doesn't solve a problem only to you, but it solves it to 100,000, maybe hundreds of thousands or millions of people. Then you need to continue building and kind of hone in that difference. It might be just difference in pricing. Maybe you're making it cost efficient. Maybe you're making it, you know, uh, with a better user experience. Maybe you're making it intuitive. Maybe you're adding something on top of it that adds value to the customer. Sometimes you don't have to invent the wheel. You just have to make it better.
Interesting. What is your approach to decision making? How do you make tough decisions when there is no clear right answer? Do you have a framework?
In regards to what, especially
Business decisions
business
regarding evolution.
decision. Yeah,
Yeah, you can share your general decision making criteria too. That would be helpful.
yeah. Yeah. So the way I operate right now is I don't believe in I've had other, little businesses that I run. So like I mentioned, I had an e-commerce. It generated quite a lot of money the first year, which was good, but I didn't make money. So that's the difference. So I sold maybe $100,000 of worth of products, but I lost 10,000. So because of competition, because of the cost, and I was shipping, I was excited. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting sales. So I started shipping things and things like that. And I've learned through the year, and even in my corporate career, I've seen how organizations tend to overspend because they believe that they will get the return on investment later on. But unfortunately, it doesn't always happen, and then you end up, So the decision making that I do, and I would suggest everybody does, is that you remain lean, you remain completely, especially with AI right now, you have to stay completely very lean. I don't spend on anything unless I absolutely see the return on investment in it. And my decision kind of thinking in difficult processes that I tend to see where is the return on investments. If it's heavier here, this is where I go. um, you know, and customer, you have to be obsessed with your customers. My first customer, and it's probably $40 a month. That's what I was making with that customer. But to me, they were the best thing that happened to me in the world because, they were telling me things. They were giving me feedback about the solution. This is not working. We'd love to get this. And it would be really good if we had this. And that kind of gives you direction. Any product that you build, especially for solo founders like us, anything that you build, you're not obviously designing something and thinking it's going to be perfect. You need to speak to your customer, get their feedback. And most of what EvalFlow is today is actually customers' ideas. The bare bone was good. That's what customer fell in love with. But 90% of it right now is all customers' ideas. And the good thing is, a third or fourth or fifth customer is going to suggest an idea, you're going to build it. But this first one or the second one are going to see it. They're going to be excited about it. Because like, oh, what is this? This is new and it helps us. So yeah, that's basically it.
Great insight so far. I have a segment called Rapid Fire. I know you might be familiar with this. So I'll be having 5 questions and you can share your insights on them too if you want to. So, what's the hardest part of being a founder that nobody talks about?
It's the lonely days. It's lonely days where, there's no sales. You see, you compare your products and guess, you know for a fact that your product is better, but you're not getting the sales that you want. You're not getting the growth at the speed that you want. Those are the hardest days. And you just have, you shouldn't disbelieve in your product. You should just see why are you not getting the sales that you think you should, and improve your go-to-market strategy.
Best book, business book, or any other book you have read recently which you want to recommend?
I haven't read any books to be recent. I read a lot. So for me, it's mostly different businesses, different business people that kind of succeeded in the past. Some of them will say not to believe in the naysayers because naysayers are going to destroy your idea before you even go to market. So, and even the closest people to you, the closest people to you will say, well, this is difficult. Why hasn't this person done it? Why would you succeed in it? So I think it's really listening to different, to the best ideas. We see a lot of, we scroll throughout social media. We see a lot of TikTok and all these things. And 90% of those advices are actually true. It's not just talk. If someone tells you consistent showing up, in being really obsessed with the customer, these are the foundation of what I do every day. And if I'm gonna mention something, and it might be funny to you or it might be
Yeah.
kind of strange, but there was a movie called Ex Machina. I don't know if you watched it. It was someone he invented AI. It's the fictional word where like the inventor of a search engine and he's the richest man in the world. But what caught me in that movie is that person has been living in 3 years in isolation in the mountains, working on his idea, honing his product and his skills, right? So that's what got me the motivation. I know it's fictional, but it's so good.
Oh, that's interesting. If you could give one piece of advice to HR leaders evaluating performance management tools right now, what would it be?
Biggest advice is continuous feedback. Continuous feedback beats any performance review because it's just like normal life. If you don't wait to give advice to your kids 1 year later. I mean, if you see your kid doing something wrong, you're not going to say, well, it's not performance review time. I'm going to wait for you. So it's the same thing. Continuous feedback works in personal and professional life. So I would say to really invest in continuous feedback.
Great. Okay. 5 years from now, what does performance management looks like? What's possible that isn't happening today?
5 years from now is a performance management that helps organizations, HR leaders, and most importantly, employees. As an employee, I want to log into a platform where it helps me improve my skills. It proactively, it's not reactive, it's proactively suggests courses and skills to learn based on past feedback and past performance. And that's something I'm working on. But it proactively tells you, hey, you're good at this, but maybe you should be learning this. So it's kind of like a combination between performance management, learning management system all together. Um, and just building that person.
And what's next for EvalFlow in 2026?
Well, I mean, 2000, if you go on our website, there's what we call the master plan. So the master plan is 3 phases. First phase is obviously, validate the idea, which has already happened. And I'm really thankful to my customers, and they still keep bombarding me with ideas. And I love that. That's what I love. If a customer says, why isn't it this working this way? Or we could have something like this, that's the best day for me. That's what I spend my weekend on working on. So what's next is that the first phase is to get to 100 organizations using EvalFlow, and we have a deadline by end of 2026. Past that, then we've passed the validation idea, and it's to really go out there and enable small and medium businesses across the world to use a platform that's going to help them grow. So the end goal for me is when I see an organization succeeding, when I see that they're providing continuous feedback, that their people are changing, and it's resulting in either their operations, efficiencies, cost savings, or even revenue. If my platform allows a business to do that, and that's the goal for me. So that's the second phase, 2026 to 2028, which is to get to 1,000 organizations using the platform. And it's not really about the sales for me. The success is, and that's what I'm really happy. Some of our customers have turned 180-degree in terms of performance. They're seeing huge value. Their managers are involved. Their employees are involved. And that's the beauty of it. It's really bringing value to our customers.
Great. This has been great. Thank you so much for your time today. I
Thank you
know
very
you
much.
have been quite busy, but yeah, I got to learn a lot from your ideas. I actually learn a lot from talking to founders, especially in the SaaS space. And one thing that stood out to me with EvilFlow is that how radically simple you are creating the performance management infrastructure. So good luck with that. Any closing thoughts you would like to share?
No, I mean, I appreciate you having me. I was happy when you reached out, and I'm happy that you're able to give me a voice. So thank you for that. And I think you're doing a great thing into kind of taking different ideas from different people and sharing it. That's what helps everybody. This is where the real help comes from. These little conversations spark ideas, inspire and and give time to think about certain things. My advice to other people in the same space is if you have one customer, two customers, or people that are willing to test for free and they see value, and that's validation and compounding efforts, consistency, you have to show up. It's the hardest part. You have to show up. Maybe it's going to be few weeks, few months, and you feel like giving up. But sometimes it's just compounding effects until you really have an amazing product.